Welcome, Stachen. Thank you so much for joining us for this interview today.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. We like to start by just acknowledging the original stewards of the various lands that we are on, as well as our ancestors. We want to acknowledge all those who toiled without compassion or compensation. And we acknowledge
Mm.
all of our elders and community stalwarts whose shoulders we continue to stand on as we do this great work. And we lean on one another for our collective liberation. So, again, welcome. Can you go ahead and just introduce yourself and tell us about the origin of the work that you do?
Sounds good. Well, again, thank you for having me. So my name is Stachen Lett-Frederick. I have been in the not-for-profit sector for about 20 years. Um, I am the head of a youth charity in Toronto, Frontlines. We have been ranked as one of the best youth charities across Canada by Charity Village. We support youths between the ages of 6 to 29, predominantly Black youth, on a variety of service. And that is true our mission, a very simple but impactful mission. Our mission is to address the pressing needs of some of Toronto's most vulnerable children and youth. And when you think about the communities that we serve, Black communities, and even in York Southwestern, where our building is, it is one of the poorest ridings, not just in Toronto, but across Ontario. And so when you think about the needs of these young people, there are many. Whether it be education, employment, food insecurity, if it is to get out of violence. And there is Frontlines doing innovative and agile work. And so whether it is, again, education, we have our tutoring programs, we have scholarships, we have employment programs, so whether it's skills training programs, financial industry training, culinary training, social work training, general employability training, but with a piece also to ensure that we are providing these young people access to doors that many of them may not have. So through internships and placements. I could go on and on about Frontlines and the great work that we do there. Some of the hats that I wear, I am the founder of an organization called BrAIDS for AIDS. It is an amazing organization to raise awareness around HIV/AIDS within the African and Caribbean and Black communities here in Canada and internationally through a culturally relevant practice of hair braiding. And on top of that, I am also a business owner called Let's Consult Communities. And in that, I support government bodies, not-for-profits and charities, as well as small Black businesses in a variety of areas, whether it be research, grant writing and training, and just general consultancy on the business practices. I'm there supporting individuals sort of looking to scale or to be responsive to the community, taking very much of what I did at Frontlines. When I took over at Frontlines, we had an operating budget about 250K. Now we're about a $3 million organization. And so helping organizations, particularly small businesses or grassroots organizations, reach to that level. And I know later on I'll be able to share some of the transformative work that we're doing, even at Frontlines, where we've been able to give out $1 million about to three grassroots organizations to do work in their community. And as someone who created my own grassroots organization, I wished back then I would have had an organization that I like Frontlines, where we've been able to channel our funding to these amazing youth charities.
Well, that's amazing. I mean, that is no small feat, especially
Yeah.
being a chosen, what you said, award-winning charity. I thought that was amazing. So congratulations
Yes.
on that alone. That's a
Mm.
lot of great, amazing work across the three organizations. I know you said that you are primarily frontline. So if you want to share what like their whole mission and vision is and the work that you do there specifically.
Yeah, sure. So again, Frontlines, the mission is to address the pressing needs of Toronto's most vulnerable children and youth. And our vision is that our communities will transform so that all youth feel that they are included, that they are loved, and that they are valued so that they could achieve their true potential. And so within that, again, it allows Frontlines to do some really innovative work. We have young people at all different levels of their journey. There are young people who know what they want and they want to give back. And so we have programs that help to build leaders and to give leaders resources. So for example, we actually have a grant right now that has allowed us to distribute $3,500 to about 125 youth across Canada who want to create a diverse and inclusive Canada. So, you will have some young people who already know what they want to do and they're ready to give back. And then we have some young people who sit on the couch telling me that they're hungry and that they just came out of jail. And that we have programs for them. There is food distribution where we're able to provide meals for young people. They're young people who need support in terms of their education. And so Frontlines is there, our tutoring programs for the different age levels, our employment programs, our violence prevention, our mental health programs. So there's a wide range of programs that we provide for young people. And though our mission is, at this current moment is to address the needs of Toronto's most vulnerable youth, we see that our young people have a global mind and want to connect with others, even nationally. And so that is how we are now doing some work with young people across Canada. So a really amazing charity. I love the work that I do at Frontline, seeing young people grow, seeing my staff grow. And that's another great model at Frontlines. Some of our staff are youths who actually went through our programs at Frontlines, and then we hire them out. This morning, I was out at Home Depot at a store campaign, and one of our staff was a young person who went through one of our employment programs and then did an internship at somewhere, and then we hired them. And so again, it's just really life-changing work that you see happening at Frontlines.
That's remarkable. I really have a soft spot for the reintegration services. So I'm glad that you have a focus on the youth and you're able to see that sort of come full circle. That's definitely a beautiful moment. So my next question is, what inspires you most about your work? I don't know if it's that full circle moment or if you want to elaborate a bit more.
What inspires me about my work? I just really love my Black youth. I just love them, right? And so they have a lot of spunk. I'm a new mom. I mean, it's now 16 months. I'm a new mom, but some of the youth I would come in and it's like, where your child? We don't want to see you anymore. Right. And so bring your child to Frontlines. It's like, can we even change the mandate of Frontline so we can have younger kids at Frontline so that I could bring my baby all the time? So I think really and truly is having young people again, at different levels and just seeing them find their journey through Frontlines is what really sort of inspires me in the work, and seeing their faces and just I was in a staff meeting and I heard this young man just, again, it was a young person who went through a leadership program. We've now hired him on at Frontlines, and he just talks about his experience at Frontlines, it being a family, seeing the staff grow in their roles and just really develop. Also keeps me motivated. There's a young woman who, if I sort of juxtapose my life at where she was at her age right now, back maybe about 15 years ago, I was sitting on a United Way of Peel Region. This is before the amalgamation happened. And I was part of this group that was reviewing grant applications for young people doing their work. And now here comes a staff who is about the similar age, who is now doing that. She is the lead overseeing all the grants that young people are now submitting to Frontlines from all across Canada. I'm getting a bit of goosebumps. So, just knowing that I was given that opportunity and see where I'm at in my career, knowing that the trajectory of this young person, this young staff, could very much be in such a positive light. So, and that Frontlines is giving that opportunity. This is not a big, Frontlines is not a big organization like United Way, not as yet, right? But, we're not a big,
I like that.
we're not a big organization as yet, but we're still able to do these things. And that's what I love about Frontlines. Like we just figure it out. My staff, they just figure it out, and we do for the community.
And that's the thing, it's about the impact, right? And it sounds like, small grassroots organization, but big impact, right? Lasting impact. It's all about seeing to the next 7 generations. So as long as there's impact there, it really doesn't matter the size or the numbers, you're getting it done. So it's great when you have a great team that can help to make that happen.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So do you have any challenges or barriers in your work? What are they? And how are you and your amazing team working to overcome those challenges?
That's a great question. What are the challenges? I think the challenge for the organization, and this is a challenge for many not-for-profits, within the sector, is that growth comes with more responsibilities and much more reporting. And so, whereas Frontlines was a place where, okay, you just come, there was a couch, you sit down and chill. And this was back in 2016. It was 3 staff, including myself. Now we're a staff of 30, right? Well, 24, and then with some recent funding, we'll get to 30. Again, more responsibility. So there's more reporting. And so, it's now a whole level of regulations. And it changes the dynamic, and it changes the culture of just being relaxed. You have to be, and sometimes you might lose the fun in that when you have to make sure you're doing this report. And then also too, again, with the growth of organization, all these different systems have to be put in place, right? So whether it is HR systems, whether it's finance systems, and whether it's a whole bunch of other systems. And sometimes systems are not people friendly, right? And so again, you lose sometimes that family touch, though it was great to hear at our staff meeting on Tuesday that people felt that we're still a family. It felt good to hear that, so that despite all these new things and new systems and new policies and new procedures, you could still feel family. So I think that's the challenge of how do you maintain that grassroots feel while becoming corporate, in inverted commas.
So growth is part of the challenge. I like that. I've never
Yes.
heard it really framed that way. So growing pains, there's definitely growing pains and
Yes.
adjustments to growth.
Absolutely. Right.
So do you have a key set of priorities that you're working on right now that you'd like to highlight?
Well, I think two key priorities. I mean, one is being that transformational organization in the sector, where we are looking at how do we get funds down to young people that are doing great work. And so there are a few organizations that I want to highlight. Back to Basics, then Challenge the Outcome, and Helping Hands. And those 3 organizations that have now received that $1 million grant over a 5-year period that's trickled down through Frontlines from Crime Prevention Action Fund. And soon we'll be opening up those sites, so we'll have launches in collaboration with those organizations. So, want the community to come out and support, refer young people to those organizations, because again, they're doing that great work. So that priority is really even supporting some of those grassroots organizations. I mean, I've had conversations with some of the leaders about, okay, this is how you set up payroll. But actually, I'm not a payroll specialist. You should probably invest in a bookkeeper. And so that's that capacity building that we're also doing for these grassroots organizations. And then the second priority is around getting across those grants, those 3,500 grants, so those 125 youths across Canada. We still have a few spots in that grant. So letting people know, if you know that there's any young person between the ages of 15 to 29, and they have a passion for creating a diverse and inclusive Canada, go on to Frontlines, social media, and sort of click the link above and apply for that grant. And then thirdly, which is in that growing pains, I, of course, come back from maternity leave, and I've now hired a director of philanthropy, a director of programming, and looking at a director of operations. And now is really a sort of priority of succession planning. I probably would not be at Frontlines forever, right? And so while I grew the organization to what it is, it's also a piece for me that I'm at a place where I can let go, right? And so making sure that the organization is in a stabilized place for that transition, I would say, is priority. Whether it be today or tomorrow, things just can't be in station's head. And so is that sort of organizational continuity that we're looking at.
That's great. How do you feel about the future of Black entrepreneurship, especially as it pertains to our youth?
The future is bright, really bright for young people in several ways. One, I think we are in an age of social media, of course, and so the access to clients and access to individuals are much larger. I think that there has been a lot of work at the governmental level that shows the need for grants versus loans. And so you're seeing a lot of government bodies looking at doing grants. Right now, there's a grant, I think it's due in 2 days, or maybe a day when this airs, but it is one that is from the Ontario government called the RAISE grant, and that is for racialized individuals to get $10,000. Once, of course, they fit through some criteria pieces and do some work, that they could access this $10,000 grant. I'm also seeing that there's a large amount of corporations that are doing grants for small businesses. You have Desjardins, you have the BMOs, the Share Moisture, a few that are now giving grants to small businesses. And so really sort of being able to now access grants that many of us, prior were not able to do. So, and young people are creative, and young people are looking to innovate space. So I think it is the future is bright, knowing that, of course, you need to put in the work to get where you are. So that would be my sort of thing. There's still, of course, there's much work to be done, of course, but I think the needle is moving.
Absolutely. So as we talk about the future, and you said it is bright,
Yeah.
If you could sort of elaborate and paint a picture of what success would look like to you and your team, what is your ultimate goal here?
Right. And this is specifically in relation to entrepreneurship or generally, just to clarify.
Generally, based on the mission and the vision of your
Oh,
organization, what is the ultimate goal for you? In a perfect world,
right.
what are you trying to achieve with your team?
Right. So again, as a leader of an organization, what should be the drive and what should be what you want to achieve is your vision. And that vision is that our communities will transform so that young people can feel loved, valued, and that they can achieve their highest potential. And so when we break that down into specific areas, such as employment, is that we want young people to feel that they're valued in their employment, their place of employment. They feel valued in the space. They have access to opportunities. When we think about in the education system, we want our young people graduating. We want young people feeling that school is a space again where they're valued and they're loved and they can get the resources that they need so that they can achieve their highest potential. And that's the same pieces in all the different areas that we focus on, whether education, employment, entrepreneurship. We want again young people to feel that the community is shifting, the community is transforming to allow for them to enter into entrepreneurship. So when we see that governments are shifting and corporations are shifting, then we know that the work that Frontlines is looking to achieve is happening, right? And that our young people are getting into these spaces.
Absolutely. Do you have any words of wisdom for the emerging leaders that are coming into the ecosystem?
Oh, wow. Do I have words of wisdom? There's several things I would want to say, but I would say, um, seek 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 mentorship, seek be humble, really be humble. I've had some interactions, recently, where I had to pull, aside people and say like, hey, like I'm telling you this for a point of learning. And it's not a matter of necessarily wanting to correct. It's not like a correction. It's this is best practice. This is what I know has been tried and tested. And I don't want you to go down a part of failure, right? Um, what I would say though, if I could give a piece of advice, not just to emerging leaders, but to leaders who are currently in this space, like myself, right, who've been in the sector for 20 years, is two things. One, sometimes you just have to let go, right? You just have to let go, let people learn, right? You might want to just say, hey, don't do this to something. I said, okay, you don't want to listen to me, all right. Do what you need to do. And then two, the other thing that I would want to say is, make space. Make space for others, right? There will always be opportunities for yourself and your organization. It doesn't always have to be you. And then I say be you as your organization, but also it doesn't always have to be you as the individual, right? And I say that for several because I'm going through my own sort of internal processing about where I sit in this sector, and I've had conversations with the matriarch of our family. And she said to me, never be attached to an organization, be attached to your life's mission. And so that allows me to flow and to move and to not feel that something is mine. Frontlines is not mine. Even BrAIDS Phase that is founded is not mine. It's not mine. And so they are vehicles for me to do my life's mission, but it's not mine. And so just also wanting to say that into this, that we talk about mission and visions of organizations, but what are people's true life mission that you want to achieve? And for me, it will forever be the advancement of my Black community, particularly Black youth.
I love that. I think that's a key takeaway that you shared, that you need to have a personal vision and mission. I think I use that, excuse me, I learned that years ago from Dr. Cindy Trim. She talks about writing a vision for the next 20 years of your life. And when you get there, it's a matter of writing the next one. So I think it's so true to stay aligned to your personal mission and vision. And I love what the elder said, to not be attached to an organization, because it's going to grow and you could grow into another opportunity someplace else, and someone else could grow into, like you said, something that you founded but don't own, right?
Yes, absolutely.
I love that. So really well said. I really appreciate all of your answers. Do you have any closing thoughts or calls to action for our community?
So again, if you know a young person, let them visit Frontline's website. Lots of services, but of course, just pushing our grants. Again, as someone, when I started off my organization, BrAIDS Phase, I wish there was just funding, that was so easy to access. So please just apply. And again, our governments are transforming to say we want to give money to these young people to do work. Amazing. So please access that. And if there is any supports that a young person may need, think of Frontlines as the organization of choice to support young people, particularly Black youth in Toronto. So please reach out to us. It's www.frontlines.to. And you look at our Instagram, it's also frontlines.to. So reach out and my amazing staff will be happy to support.
That's great. Thank you so much for that. Very well said. I think all of our youth should definitely follow up and tap in as best they can. So again, we really applaud the work that you're doing. Thank you so much for that. And thank you for taking the time to do this interview with us in all of the hats that you wear. And I know it's a busy time of year as well. So thank you so much.
Yes, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
We also just want to close off the way that we started by acknowledging the original stewards of the various lands that we are on, as well as our ancestors and all those who toiled without compassion or compensation, our elders and community stalwarts whose shoulders we continue to stand on as we do this great work and lean on each other for our collective liberation. So thank you to you, Stachen, once again, and thank you to our viewers and listeners.